Pokemon Evolved is a Pokemon Romhack where Pokemon just keep evolving. Every Pokemon family has been given at least 2 more evolutions, so even by the time you reach the 8th gym leader, you still have some surprises in store. We all know about Weedle evolving into Kakuna and then Beedrill, but now it also evolves into Beebrute, Dronark, and Sepistrike. Every single Pokemon from the original 151 has been given an expanded evolution tree, including legendaries like Articuno and Mew, to total over 350 Pokemon to evolve, all with gorgeous sprites developed by YouTuber Pointcrow and their amazing team of writers and devs, so please go check them out, because when I saw this game, I just knew I had to try and Nuzlocke it. What I didn't know is how goddamn difficult it would be, so if you're a fan of high casualty rates and Nuzlocks and insane Pokemon designs, stay tuned, because this game has some of the craziest designs I've ever seen. The rules for this Nuzlocke are simple, and since the first part of this playthrough doesn't have any of the new Pokemon, I'm gonna try to get through it as quickly as I can, because we're all here to see some cool evolutions, right? So we get our first Pokemon Bulbasaur, we name them Chat after you all, because I love you, have our first battle against our rival Dildong, lose miserably, but by Nuzlocke rules it doesn't mean we have to reset yet. Our first Pokemon in Route 1 was a Bellsprout we named Scoot, but that also means that there's new Pokemon in every route, which means we don't have to worry about getting the same old boring Mons. Next up we catch a Meowth named Flossa, a Magnemite named Slime, and a Caterpie named Angel, who luckily starts evolving pretty quickly. Caterpies are usually fully evolved by level 10, so I'm hoping this means we get to see a new Pokemon form very fast, and trust me, it's gonna be worth the wait. But for now, since we haven't seen anything cool yet, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the full Meowth evolution line, because I'm not gonna be using it much in this run. But I still think their evolution line is sick, and I love how they made this one look similar to Mewtwo, since Persian is Giovanni's iconic Pokemon. But why is it kind of looking at me like... Never mind, the Sphinx form is also really cool. After we make our way through Viridian Forest, thanks to Slime being a steel type this early on, we managed to beat Brock and his new team of fossil Pokemon pretty easily. That's the whole reason we caught a Bulbasaur in the first place. Next we make our way towards Mount Moon, evolve our Chat into an Ivysaur, and we catch several Pokemon including a Nidoran named Red, a Sandshrew named Yachi, and we even buy a Magikarp named Queen. Remember, all of my Pokemon are named after commenters, so if you want to die a horrible death in my next Nuzlocke video, be sure to leave a comment down below. Since every single Pokemon in this game has anywhere from 4 to 6 new evolutions, I don't really feel bad about using a Moonstone on Red, so we have a grown-ass Nidoqueen at level 16, and frankly, they're ripped as all hell. Having a powerful Pokemon this early on, we easily tear through Mount Moon and manage to barely catch a Spearow named Miller, and I didn't know it at the time, but they would eventually grow to be my best Pokemon in this run. But since it's gonna be a while until they evolve into their badass new form, enjoy the entire Bellsprout line, which has to be one of the most creative I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure it's just built on them cannibalizing other Pokemon with each evolution. Anyways, with the combined powers of having a Nidoqueen, newly evolved Fearow and Gyarados, and the knowledge accumulated through 20 years of having very little friends, we managed to beat our rival on the bridge in Cerulean City with relative ease, and after making our way up north, it finally happens. Angel, our Butterfree, fully evolves into a Butterflare, and they look so soft, I just want to give them a hug. With their new evolution, Angel is now a beast in battle. The only issue is that, true to their name, they're now a fire bug type Pokemon, and our next gym leader is Misty. So both them and our Nidoqueen Red are getting benched for now. Instead, we put the work into evolve Slime, catch a Pidgey named Dylan, as well as a Psyduck named Ooftesk. Now, I'm not going to use Ooftesk for a while, but remember them. They're a surprise tool that will help us later. For now, I don't know why I even bothered putting Angel in the box, since a Magneton and a Gyarados were enough to beat Misty's boosted team. I had no need for any of these other Pokemon. And since our Pokemon are actually going to start evolving soon, this is going to be the last time I show off a full evolution line, but enjoy the full Pidgey line, because it slowly becomes a Thunderbird, and all of these sprites are gorgeous. For now though, we're going to head over to Vermilion City, which essentially means we get to catch a bunch of Pokemon, including a Growlithe named Rose, a Dugtrio named Kala, and a Drowsy named Cloud. Yuck. But at least our Ivysaur evolves into a Venusaur. More exciting though is we fight our rival aboard the SS Anne, and thanks to the Titans we have on our team, it's a pretty one-sided stomp, but it allows both Queen our Gyarados and Miller our Fearow to evolve. Queen is now a Hydreidos, which looks like a complete nightmare in battle, and Miller is now a dark flying type Sneero. Both of them are amazing. It's just that they're both weak against Lieutenant Surge? I really have to get better at planning these evolutions. But if we're boxing our 2 monsters, we have to add 2 more Pokemon to our team, and eventually I settled on a Sandslash named Yachi and our Dugtrio Kala. Those 2 alone are enough to grind Surge into the ground, even if he has a Gorachu and an Electivire. Oh hey, wait, our Sandslash is evolving into a Ground Steel Sand Slam? So double win, I guess. That's 3 badges down. On the route to Celadon, we managed to catch a bunch of familiar Pokemon, but more importantly, a lot of the trainers we're fighting are actually starting to have some new forms, which is super exciting. Thanks to that, Slime evolves into a Magnezone, which is neat, but it's not a new Pokemon yet. Angel does evolve again into a Pyreform, and aw, look, they're angry now. After an embarrassingly long time getting lost in Rock Tunnel, we finally arrive in Lavender Town, where we can once again fight our rival. And finally, they actually have some cool Pokemon. They lead with a Pidgey Arrow, which is sick, but not much competition to our Magnezone. Next up is Char Iguana, which is basically a Charizard who's had a bit too many picnics in Paldea. But they're still a fire type, and I'm super jealous because our starter still hasn't evolved. Come on, chat, don't you love me? So, out of spite, we switch into Queen to quench their flames. Executor goes down to a Drill Peck from Miller, and their very own Hydrodose gets shocked by Slime. Now, what comes next is a little unfortunate, but in my defense, their next Pokemon is Alakazam. And while I do have a Dark-type Fearow, I thought, hey, why not use my Bug-type Angel since they're a cutie patootie? But wait, Angel doesn't have any actual Bug moves, but that shouldn't matter. Bug is resistant to Psychic-type moves. False! Apparently, that's not the case. Just because Bug is super effective against Psychic types does not mean Psychic is not very effective against Bug, and that misunderstanding led to our very first death of the run. Rip to our little fire fella. Right before the grass gym too, goddammit! At least Yachi will avenge you, but it still sucks. I really liked Angel, they were cute, and we didn't even get to see their full evolution. Since we need a new fire type before Erica's gym, I thought that adding Rose the Arcanine to our team would be good. You know, one fluffy boy falls, another will rise. It's pretty solid logic, and their evolution looks amazing and majestic, so how could it go wrong? We also lucked out and picked up an Eevee as a wild encounter we named Turbo, as well as picking up a second Eevee in Celadon City that we named Gled. Every evolution in this game has 2 more evolutions afterwards, which means there are a total of 16 different forms of Eevee! That's more than base Pokemon already! I'm not going to evolve either of them for now though, because I'm going to need to put a lot of thought into which ones I actually want. For now though, after 3 gyms, our Venusaur chat is finally evolving into an Ecosaur, and it's horrifying in the best way possible. The sprite work on this is insane, and it's not even close to fully evolved. But let's focus up and lock in on Erica's gym. Rose is fully capable of taking on a group of grass-type Pokemon themselves, but it never hurts to have backup. And memes aside, Drowsy and Hypno is a pretty powerful Psychic-type Pokemon, even if they're a creep. So a little reluctantly, we evolve Cloud into a Lalu, which honestly is a huge improvement in their design. Just to hammer it in though, Miller evolves yet again into an Ornithal. Now we have a big bird, big fire, and psychic powers. Grass poison types, beware. Also, we have a Weezing named Tasha, just to be safe, but spoilers are not really gonna do anything. Now, don't get me wrong, Erica has some insane looking Pokemon. She had a Mucktreebell, which I think is just a Victory Bell who vored amok, Raffalurk, and oh my god, what did they do to my precious Vileplume? And Electivire, which is an Electivire who's trying to camouflage themselves. All of which Cloud is able to solo. Holy crap, maybe I should draft an apology letter to Hypnos everywhere. But after taking a Wood Hammer to the face, we're probably gonna switch them out into Rose to defeat Tangather, Erica's last and in my opinion best looking Pokemon. After some quick team changes, we're ready to take on Team Rocket under the casino, who are boasting some pretty gnarly looking Raticates as well as a it's Python backwards, I get it. And that's enough for Yachi to evolve once again into a Ferrodillo, which I'm pretty sure is just a badger mole from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Anyway, it's time for us to start our first battle with Mr. Big Bad himself, Giovanni. And in all honesty, Giovanni's team isn't too much to write home about. Queen is powerful enough to beat both of their Kangaskhan and their Rhyperior and Steelix, all of which are Pokemon I've seen before, so they're not even cool to look at, even if their Phalanx has got me feeling a sort of way I don't like. Miller is able to stop that real fast and bring me back down to Earth. A little anticlimactic, at least until Queen evolves into a Drake Cosmic, which is fucking amazing, and still somehow isn't a dragon type? How is this a flying type? Come on! But right about this point is where I decided I was really hitting my stride in this Nuzlocke. For all intents and purposes, I've beaten 3 gyms and Team Rocket, only losing 1 Pokemon. That's pretty good. So we head back to Lavender Tower, fight some ghost Pokemon, including a Hitmonchan evolution called an Enchance. Puns, and make our new Cubone Pizza in Orphan once again. Now, while I was heading down to Fuchsia City, fighting some more newly evolved Pokemon and catching a Snorlax named Lime, I thought to myself, isn't it a damn shame that I have so many Pokemon just rotting away in my box? The whole point of this ROM hack is that these Pokemon should be evolving into new forms, so we put in some time to evolve Slime, our Magnezone, into a horrible amalgamation called Magmeld. We evolved one of our Eevee's Geld into a Jolteon, and then immediately into a Plasmion, and look at them, they're so happy. Tasha, our Weezing, evolves into literal Cancer, a Heaving, and Jasper, our Machamp, looks like he's gonna fire a laser out of their mouth. Most importantly though, chat, our beloved Ichsaur evolves once again into a Terrarisaur, becoming even more monstrous. This isn't even their final form yet, which is nuts considering how powerful they are now in battle. And as if things could not get any better for us, our random encounter on this route was a Squirtle. So we're naming them Draft and immediately evolving them into their new form, Terrapin, and then once more into a Fortis, an insane water and steel type behemoth of a cool Pokemon. And since they're a steel type, it can actually use them in the upcoming Poison Gym. Unfortunately though, Draft is gonna be our last cool Pokemon for a while, since the Safari Zone was a bit of a bust. Doduo, Rhydon, Parasect, all of these are far from people's favorite Pokemon. Sure, it would be a shame if I had to miss out on catching both a Scizor and an Electivire, wouldn't it? At the very least, Rhydon has a sick evolution. It's like an improved Rhyperior. It's really nice. And since we have Koga's Gym next, I decided to add some extra ground types to our team. You know, try a play around type effectiveness and all that. So we put in some time to evolve Pizza, our Cubone, into an Ocelobber, which looks amazing. But nothing compared to Kala, our Dugtrio, evolving into Dugtrio, and even more bizarre, into Unearthlet? Whose idea was it to give Dugtrio legs, and where can I give them money? Because that's genius. Also, it's been a minute since we busted out Red, our Nidoqueen, so it's really cool to see them evolve into a Nidoregal, which kind of sounds like a reward program for movie tickets. But overall, between the huge amount of Pokemon we have, we're able to assemble a pretty powerful team, which we're gonna need considering how bizarre these gym Pokemon are. I mean, just look at them. Even if these Pokemon designs are bizarre in the best way possible, Koga isn't any pushover. He leads with an Anaconda backwards. Okay, I'm a little slow on the update. But Yachi is able to take them down with a simple Earthquake, no problem. Next up is a Gunk, and they look... Oh, it also goes down in one hit to Earthquake. Maybe we should switch Yachi out just so some other Pokemon get some love. So Red comes out to Rumble against Ratarul, which eventually goes down to a single Earthquake. Look, it's not my fault that this is optimal gameplay here. At least this Tumorous Choking probably has Levitate, which means we have to use a move other than Earthquake. So our best option is to send in Cloud, only for the fucking little gas cloud to use Explosion and take our Pokemon with him. God damn it, what a crap way to get our second death of the run. And to make things even worse, their last Pokemon is a Zubat evolution, so once again, no Earthquake. So I guess I'm just gonna keep using Slash with Kala. I've never been clear on what the Diglett line is actually using to slash and scratch Pokemon, but here they kind of have stalagmites on their gooch, so I don't know, you do the math. And as a reward for getting our 5th gym badge, Cloud evolves, which is cool. I'm totally not upset that I don't get to use their cool evolution. No, not at all. In an effort to drown our sorrows, I decided to put some time into evolve our Snorlax Lime into Actalax, which kind of looks like a barbarian. And for all you sick degenerates, we turned our other Eevee Turbo into a Vaporeon, and later a Rivian. Thank God this thing stayed on 4 legs. Props to you devs. Next up, we head to Saffron City, where the plan is to take on the Fighting Dojo, which is a really cool way to see some crazy fighting type sprites, especially the evolutions of Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. These things look amazing. But if I had to choose which Pokemon Pokemon we're getting for winning, I'm gonna go with Bruce any day, and we name them Lloyd. After that, we head on over to Silphco to start grinding our way through Team Rocket, and unfortunately, their Pokemon are a lot of the same evolutions we've already seen. Polabad, Ratchet, Sippistray, but at the very least, this Great Ball Electrode evolution is pretty funny, and hey, Turbo evolves into a Brighteon, so I can't complain too much. And then comes our fated rival battle. And can I just say, I hate this battle, not only because I'm about to lose one of my favorite Pokemon, spoilers, but because this is not the place for a friendly Pokemon battle. I just want my free Lapras and to take down some terrorists, dude. Oh, and you wanna know what really sucks? Somehow Dildong, our rival, has a Zapdos. Why? Who gave you this? Get Turbo the hell out of there, send in Lime, they've got blubber for days, and lord do they use that flab to body slam Big Bird to an early grave. Next up is Drake Cosmic, and hey, I have one of those too, but I think mine is a bit bigger. It also helps that after Lime puts them to sleep, we can Dragon Dance a couple times and knock them out easily. Dildong's next Pokemon is Chariguana, which is cool, but also a terrible matchup on their part. Like, it takes 2 water attacks to do it in. What the hell was Dildong thinking? But I guess I'm not really one to talk, because their next Pokemon is Executive. But call it whatever you want, I know an Alolan Executor when I see one. And okay, hear me out. I know that grass is good against water, and I know Queen is at half health, but I figured that because I had Dragon Danced, a Stab Air Slash would be enough to one-hit KO this Pokemon, right? Well, Queen missed, and I thought they were toast. But lucky enough, Executive didn't attack. They started charging Solar Beam, which probably meant that I should switch out, right? But no, I have faith in my Pokemon. We've trained Queen since they were a silly little Magikarp, and I'm sure they can defeat... Oh, they missed Air Slash again. Well, it was nice knowing that they survived with literally 1 health left. What a miracle that our Pokemon was spared. But, I mean, how much could one little Air Slash hurt? It's probably gonna one-hit KO them anyway, and they survive with 1 health. Shit. I wasted what was an Arceus given miracle because I got greedy. And that might have been the dumbest thing I've ever done in a Pokemon Nuzlocke, and it was at the expense of one of my best Pokemon. Miller is still able to finish off Executive and their Volhoodoo, which is just an evolved Alakazam, but it still sucks to lose Queen before their final form. Come on! Now we have to go about the task of trying to figure out who we're going to add to the team instead. The most obvious option is Jewel, the Lapras we just picked up, especially after they evolve into an adorable little Lockglass. Look at it, it kind of looks like it has a top hat. Or since we know Giovanni is going to be a ground type trainer, a flying type like Crisscross or Dodrio, who evolves into a Dodo, the most adorable, most cursed creature in all of existence, might be a good choice. Hell, maybe even a wild card like Floyd the Hitmonlee, who evolves into a Clairvoyant, or even Soul, our Parasect, who evolves into a terrifying Fungalith. I can't believe how much I love Parasect's new evolution. The Spiders really went all out on this one. Honestly though, even though we have tons of choices of amazing Pokemon in our box, in the end I decided to add both Crisscross, the Doduzzin, and Jasper the Machoke to our team. Partially since they're going to be solid Pokemon to fight some ground types, and partially because I consider them very expendable. But I'm sure we're going to get through the Giovanni fight just fine, no worries, especially when Turbo takes down his Flank with ease. And despite being confused, Turbo also one-hits this sick-ass Nidoruli, but after Queen, I'm gonna start playing it safe. So against Kangalas, I switch into Jasper, since fighting beats normal, and beat down Jasper does. A single cross chop is all it takes to create an orphan. And after 2 more close combats, they even managed to take down Giovanni's most powerful Pokemon, Remarkable. But what comes next is embarrassing, and I'm looking at this gameplay footage and I don't know why, but at 45 health and half defense, I decided to keep Jasper in against Nidoarchy, even though like all my other Pokemon are at full health and they were obviously gonna use a move like Earthquake. I probably could have switched with no risk, but what the hell, Past Moop? Why not have an avoidable death? I'm just gonna try to avoid making more stupid mistakes like that later. Since Earthquake is Nidoruli's most powerful move, I thought Crisscross would be the play since they're flying type, but that didn't work out and they also died. Oh well, anyways, Lime manages to finish the battle by throwing their weight around and Jasper evolved. Hooray, it looks awesome. But if I had a nickel for every time a Pokemon of mine evolved right after it died, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it's happened twice in only 5 deaths, right? And yes, it's sad we lost 2 more Pokemon, but if I'm being honest, it's not like I was gonna use them for Sabrina's Psychic type gym. So we added Soul to Parasect and Rose lose the Arcanine evolution back to our team and make a run for the gym. Sabrina low-key terrifies me, since anyone who knows anything about Pokemon knows that Psychic types tend to be insanely overpowered, and judging by how good our Hypno was, this Romhack is no exception to that rule. Sabrina led her team with a boosted Psyduck evolution called the Platinopus, but as adorable as it is, it's still gonna lose to Soul the Parasect, and we even wasted their Hyper Potion. Holy crap. Next up is Somnusooth, the Pokemon Cloud evolved into right after it died, but between taking a couple Psychic type hits and using boosted Rock Slides, Soul still prevailed. I am surprised about how much I love this Pokemon. I'm sure they're in it for the long haul. Or at least they would be? Because remember when I said I wouldn't make stupid mistakes ever again? Well, I lied. But in my defense, Mr. Fool is terrifying and distracting, so I accidentally lost another potential Pokemon. Oopsie. At least Miller is badass enough to destroy Mr. Fool, their Electrode, and oh my god, what in the holy Arceus' name is that? Is that Omastar? Is that an Alakazam? All I know is that this Tizarkazarts needs to burn in hell next to Giratina. And just like that, we get our 6th gym badge. But looking at our death box, we've somehow lost 5 Pokemon between Koga and Sabrina's gyms. I really need to get a lot better at taking care of my team. So on our way to Cinnabar, we mostly spend it fighting crazy looking water type Pokemon and catching a Tentacool. Luckily our starter Chad is still a grass type, so none of it is too difficult, and hey, Lime evolved into a Grizzlax and he looks adorable. Also, am I crazy or does this look like something straight out of Naruto? On Cinnabar Island, we managed to head to the Pokemon Mansion and catch a Ninetales we named King, which is an insane find, since we can immediately evolve them into a Spiritomb and then into Yoki-Yubi. Okay, never mind what I said earlier. This is definitely straight out of Naruto, but probably won't be useful for the next 2 gyms. And this may surprise some of you, but I've actually been preparing for this, using strategy and my brain. See, the last 2 gyms in the Kanto region, being fire type and ground type, have one major weakness between them, and I have a lot of water type Pokemon I have been banking in my box, waiting to bust them out here. The Theo, the Poliwrath, becomes a nasty looking Politoed, and then a big bulky Poliwise. Ooftest, the Golduck, evolves into a Gilduck, which is Golduck after getting a hair transplant. And Matua, our Tentacruel, becomes a Tentacate, which is just a Kraken. For the actual team to take on Blaine, alongside Daft we add the Theo and Turbo. It's not all water because I want some ground types like Red and Kala as well, and I also don't want to put all of our water type eggs into one basket because judging from our last 2 gyms, I'm probably going to have some casualties. I also keep my starter Chat with me. I know there are grass type going up against fire types, but I can't box my starter. That's against the rules that I made up just now. And honestly though, having some more type diversity might not be a terrible thing considering Blaine's gym trainers don't have any fire type Pokemon. Instead, some of them have dragon types and one of them has every evolution. Oh, wait, why is the fire type one so adorable? I love it so much, I just want to give it a hug. The weirdest thing though by far is the one trainer who just straight up has a missing no. I have no idea what type this Pokemon could be, so I'm really just gonna have to give it my best guess. But who cares about any of that? Let's focus on Blaine. I'm expecting this to be the toughest battle yet because fire types are insane. He leads the battle with a Butterflare, the final evolution of Angel, our Butterfree that we never managed to get, and oh, he's even more huggable. Why do they make all the spicy Pokemon so fluffy in this game? Unfortunately, fluffy does not equal powerful, because we're gonna use Kala to bury them in the ground with the power of Feet and a single Earthquake. Blaine's next Pokemon, Taclano, is pretty obviously an undersea volcano evolution of Kingler, and in my mind, this was a rock and fire type, completely ignoring the fact that regular Kingler is pure water, so I figured I'd go for another Earthquake, and that mistake cost us dearly. Sorry Kala, I wish I got to see your final evolution. Not wanting to risk another ground type Pokemon, I sent in Turbo, and luckily they were able to whittle the big crab down. Next up is Infernion, the cutest little critter I've ever seen. Seriously, how did they make Flareon even more huggable? Since an earlier attack lowered Turbo's defense, I decided to go ahead and use our secret weapon, Thefeo. Now, Thefeo may not be the most powerful Pokemon I have, but they are the only one with Rain Dance, which not only boosts all my water type attacks, but lowers all fire type attacks across the board. I swear, sometimes I try to use my brain, which makes it pretty easy to knock out this Flareon evolution. Unfortunately, all that brain power stops when I'm facing a Nightmare, the multicolored evolution of Rapidash that looks like a mixture of Cerulege and Armorage all rolled up into one, especially when it starts its sword dancing, which scares me. Now, in my defense, I know Bounce is super effective against our Pokemon. Tefio is a water fighting type after all. I just thought Waterfall would hit it anyways. I guess in my mind I thought it worked like Rock Climb, which is able to hit Pokemon when they're using Fly, but I guess I was wrong. And that's another Pokemon loss to a really stupid misunderstanding on my part. Luckily, Draft is able to finish them off, but it takes a pretty big hit in doing so, which meant when the Golem from Hell Volcanical comes out, I'm getting them the hell out of there. And that was actually my biggest mistake yet. I sent out Red, who went down to 2 Earthquakes before they even had a chance to react. Turbo manages to take them out, but our sweet little water pup wasn't able to take down a Magmolten, which looks just as demonic as me only having 2 Pokemon left on our team, a very injured water turtle and our flammable starter Pokemon. I make a risky choice and Draft is able to finish them off and earn us our 7th gym battle, but holy shit, I lost 2/3 of my team and a bunch of water Pokemon that I needed for Giovanni. Do you all remember when I beat the first 4 gyms with only 1 casualty? Yeah, I don't either. The final Pokemon that we're catching in this Nuzlocke is an Executor named Papa, who hopefully will come in handy when we fight the 8th gym since we're evolving them into the Alolan Executor form, and especially since we are in dire need of a new team considering the absolute slaughter that just went down. So once again, it's time for my favorite part of the Nuzlocke. Moop stuffs random Pokemon in his PC with rare candies until they evolve. Starting with Draft, who at the final hour is finally reaching their full evolution into this badass Turtillery? Hell yeah. But best of all is our starter, Chat, who is somehow still alive despite being in our party this whole run and me being very stupid. And one look at their new sprite tells you everything you need to know. They've been through the ringer. For the other 4 Pokemon in our party, we're once again going almost all water type, with Jewel, our Lapras evolution, who now looks gorgeous. Matua, our Tentacruel evolution, is basically just an even larger Kraken, kind of looks like Scylla from the Odyssey. And Uftess, the Psyduck evolution, who is now just a giant platypus. And we'll go ahead and evolve Papa one more time into an Exectric, just for an extra boost in power. This is a super powerful team, so I'm sure they'll all survive Giovanni. Right? Now, up until now, we haven't really had an issue with any of our fights with Giovanni. All of the Pokemon we've lost have kind of been expendable. So when he leads with a Patrafinx, I'm not really intimidated, especially when our platypus, Uftess the platypus, one-hit KOs them with a single Hydro Pump, and then also destroys this gorgeous crystal Slagnix as well. Wait, is Uftess goated? Should I have been using this Pokemon the entire run? Because next up is Diglenoid, and okay, I like the legs, but no Diglett should ever have hands. It's an affront to Arceus. So Uftess puts them out of their misery once again with a single Hydro Pump. And finally, something goes wrong, proving even gods can bleed, and they miss a Hydro Pump, getting hit by an Earthquake, but the absolute GOAT survives and still manages to take them out. This Pokemon that I have been neglecting since Cerulean City has just wiped out 4 out of Giovanni's 6 Pokemon. So you know what? I'm gonna do something completely out of character for me and switch Uftess out into Jewel, saving their life because Jewel immediately dies. Whoops, crap. I was really looking forward to having a busted Lapras, but hey, I wouldn't have brought them if I thought that I needed them for the Elite Four. So next up we have Matua, who manages to vaporize their Nidominate, but gets dusted by an Earthquake from the coolest Rhyhorn I've ever seen. I mean, I know a lot of people don't care for Rhyperior design, but can we all agree that the Spriters went all out and this design is sick as hell? And it's apparently powerful too. I tried using Papa since they have a crazy type advantage, but even a 4 times effective Frenzy Plant isn't enough to KO them. So after their death, it's up to good old Chat to save the day and win the battle. And I guess losing 3 Pokemon is better than losing 4. So I guess we're improving, hooray! But we do have to essentially choose what is gonna be our final team for the Elite Four. And we are spoiled for choice looking at our box. Throughout this entire playthrough, we have raised no shortage of insane Pokemon that would be useful to use in this gauntlet. But based on the typings of the Elite Four, I chose the following. Chat, since, I mean, come on, we need to use our starter Pokemon. Draft, our boosted Blastoise, since we need a defensive anchor who can take a hit for the team. King, our Ninetales, who we haven't used yet, but is now a fire and ghost type. Their moveset is too good to ignore. Miller, who is an all-around badass Fearow and always reliable. Slime, who after evolving has great special attack and special defense. And Lloyd, the Hitmonlee who evolves into their final form. And I'm not gonna lie, I just really like this design, so I wanted to use them. And I know that some of you probably wanted me to use other Pokemon or have some doubts about the power of this team, but we have the perfect trial run as we go toe-to-toe with Dildong for our penultimate battle, and they lead with Cockatoo? Is this an evolved form of Zapdos? Come on! Luckily, we managed to beat it down with Slime, but I can only imagine what kind of beast it's gonna be in our championship match. Dildong's next Pokemon is an Exectric, which is a great time to test out King, our cute little fox. Or foxes, I guess. I'm very confused on whether they're one or many foxes, but either way, they hard-boil these eggs. To fight Rylaic, which... actually, I'm not sure. I don't know what Pokemon this is. Our plan was to use Draft, but since they got cursed, we switched into Chat, who was able to suck them off with a Giga Drain and a Sludge Bomb. Next up is Quasar, and holy crap, this design is gorgeous. I wish our Gyarados had lived to become one of these, so in my envy, I'm just gonna destroy it with Slime. If I don't get to have one, no one does. Their next Pokemon is Chariathan, and this is amazing. But because their Gyarados set up Raid, Slime manages to survive a flamethrower that by all means should have killed them. And instead, their Pokemon goes down to a single Thunderbolt. And their final Pokemon is, oh, Zarkazarts again. God damn it, this thing is such a jump scare. But luckily, Miller, being a Dark type, is able to take it down. I'm pretty sure this is an evolution of Alakazam. And you know what? We managed to win despite being pretty underleveled. If the rest of the Elite Four is like this, we should be chillin'. So we speedrun through Victory Road with some more bizarre Pokemon, and we're finally ready for the Elite Four Gauntlet. With our specially designed team, we hop into battle against Lorelai's Ice-type Pokemon. Obviously, we lead with King. They're a Fire type after all. Lorelai leads with a Licolato, who is made out of ice cream now, I guess? They're super tanky, but even after a full restore, we managed to eventually melt them down with flamethrowers. King even manages to take down Lorelai's Jeeper with a couple Shadow Balls, and I'm not gonna lie, I really like this design for a Jinx evolution. But our little nine-tailed fox still came way too close to dying. So against Manatee, which might be one of my favorite designs yet, we're gonna switch into Lloyd. Oh, actually, they took a pretty big hit. Maybe let's switch into Slime instead. Oh, actually, they just got yawned, so I guess let's switch into Draft. Third time's the charm, they're able to take them out with a flash cannon. Lorelai's Nessie is super powerful, which makes me wonder why the hell Jewel was so damn weak. Ours went down in one hit, but theirs manages to badly injure both Daft and Slime. So as a last resort, we send in Chat to wear them down, but our little grass boy is in no shape to fight a Glacial, which is terrifying. The only Pokemon that might have a chance of surviving is Slime, but luckily for us, they went for an ice move that we resisted, and with a single Thunderbolt, we take them out. But Lorelai still has one Pokemon left, and that final Pokemon is a Missing No? Again? How do I even fight this thing? I don't even know what type it is. I thought the fact that Lorelai is an Ice Trainer meant that they would probably be an Ice-type Pokemon, you know, just like the original Glitch, but they're taking damage to Hail, so I guess I'm just gonna send in Lloyd and start spamming Bulk Up and Burk Break, and partly because Lloyd is awesome, partly because the only moves Missing No knows is Metronome, we get through our first battle with an Elite Four member with 0 casualties. It's been a minute since we did that. Next up is Bruno and his fighting type Pokemon, but I already have some experience fighting these from the fighting dojo in Saffron City, so I know with Radia-chan that Shadow Ball is super effective, and with just 2 hits, King takes them down. Next up, Bruno sends out another Missing No? What the hell? And unlike the last one, this design is completely different, and they actually have an attack move, Ancient Power, which of course is super effective against King, so we're switching them the hell out into Chat, who's able to suck them dry with a single Giga Drain. Based on this, I'm gonna go ahead and make the assumption that every member of the Elite Four has their own unique Missing No, which is actually really cool. For now though, we have to focus on Bruno, and he's making the bizarre choice to send out a Water-type Goliath against Chad, our Simbasaur, which of course primes us up to literally eat them whole. Next up, Bruno has a Spiritual Lead, just like Lloyd, and I know from having one myself that this thing is a little flimsy, so a defensive tank like Daft is the perfect opponent to whittle them down. For Makaitan, which I can't say without tipping a fedora Thora, I honestly think that switching back into Chat is the best option since they're the tankiest mon we have besides Daft, except that Poison actually resists fighting instead of Steel being weak against it. Getting off a Leech Seed makes it easy for King to switch back in and finish them off with a single Fire Blast. And now we have just enough health to one-hit KO this Bonnabelle with a boosted fire attack and win the battle. Third is the worst, and Agatha sure is terrible. Not just in personality, but she's probably the weakest Elite Four member we have to fight. I know that usually ghost types are a pain in the ass, or they would be, but we have Miller, and the devs of this game sure knew how to turn Firo, a pretty unremarkable Pokemon, into a complete utter badass. They literally steamrolled this fight. All 6 of Agatha's Pokemon have gorgeous sprites. They're great, they look awesome, and I'm sure they would have been difficult if I had any other bird, but after calm minding twice, Miller is just too powerful. Even in the face of another Missing-No and a terrifying Gengar evolution, they have no equal. And then, of course, there's Lance, the Elite Four member I'm probably the most terrified of, because Dragon types are already boosted when they have 3 evolutions, so the idea of one with 6 makes me want to crap my pants. We led with Lloyd, because to be honest, they're my most expendable Pokemon right now, but surprisingly they're able to take down Lance's Pinadra, a boosted Kingdra, thanks to a lucky crit, and thank goodness for that considering they were beginning to Dragon Dance. And luckily, since Lloyd has Moxie, we're able to boost our attack power and take down Lance's Quasar with relative ease. However, even with a double attack boost, a flying type Dodozen is too big of a risk, and I'd rather get through this with no casualties if I can, so we tag in Slime to shock them to death. Next up is Dragon Tail, which must be the final form of Dragonite in this game, and goddamn is this sprite gorgeous. But we also prepared for this, and we taught Draft Blizzard, which luckily for us is still 4 times effective, and they go down in a single hit. Lance's next Pokemon is Fortunuity, which is the final evolution of Chansey, and they're so freaking cute. They are shaped like a friend and pink. I love that shit, it's adorable, but unfortunately, even if I adore its design, this Pokemon is the most annoying one I fought in this entire game. It kept using Recover and did not die until we sludge bombed it like a dozen times with Chat and Leech Seeded it. Luckily, Lance's final Pokemon is a Missing-No, and it's not nearly as annoying. It goes down to a single critical hit sludge bomb, and we're done. We're ready to fight the champion. 1 battle left, and miraculously all 6 of our Pokemon are still alive, which means we can go all out, no holds bar, for our most difficult battle yet with Dildong. The champion's first Pokemon is of course his legendary Pokemon Zapdos, now fully evolved into a Volt Duo, and somehow through a mixture of Fire Blast and Shadow Ball, King manages to prevail, but barely clinging to life. Usually I would try and switch them out, or I mean, there's a 50% chance I would have switched them out, but in this battle, because it's our last one, I'm willing to sacrifice their life against... Huh? Mew 4? We skipped straight over Mew 3 and straight into Mew 4? What the hell? At least King the Goat manages to get some huge damage off with a Shadow Ball before they die. It's probably the only reason Miller is able to get off a Calm Mind and then take them down with a single Night Slash. Otherwise, they might have swept through our entire team. It's a freaking Mew 4! Unfortunately, Miller, our goat, is taken out the very next turn with an Ice Beam from Dragon Tail, but Draft is able to turn that right back around with the Blizzard and one-hit KO them. Next up, they're Rhyhorn, which thanks to an Earthquake shatters Draft at the cost of a huge chunk of their HP. But that means we're starting to run low. So it's time for Lloyd to shine and prove their worth on our team. They may be a glass cannon, but it's precisely in times like this that they can come in handy. They're able to outspeed Rhyhorn for a quick kill with Brick Break, and through sheer willpower, Moxie, and extreme speed, they're able to take down Chariathan as well. Of course, they do fall short of Zarkazarts, but Chat, our beloved starter, is the one to win the day. We emerge victorious. We may have lost countless Pokemon, but I had successfully Nuzlocked Pokemon Evolved. This game is a ton of fun, and there's so many sprites I wasn't able to show off. I highly recommend you seek out the Romhack yourself and support the creators because they're so talented. Have a nice damn rest of y'all's day.